Hello! Welcome to Bedtime Stories brought to you by Poudre River Library District. I'm Miss Jillian. I am with the Council Tree Branch, and I am so glad that you're here with us today. Now, my story time today has to do with cats. I'm going to read you a story about a lady who has a whole house full of cats. I have some cats too, not as many as Mrs. McTats in our story. Raise your hand if you have some cats. I see that some of our visitors today do have cats. Awesome. What if you have a different pet at home? When I count to 3, will you tell me what kind of what kind of pets you have? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I hear that some of you have a dog or a puppy. I heard guinea pig and fish and a bunny rabbit. Oh, and some of you tell me you don't have a pet. And that's okay, because sometimes we can't have a pet, and that's okay too. Well, before we read our story about Mrs. McTats, I want to share a little song with you, because I have 3 friends here. I have a yellow cat, a white cat, and a red cat. 1, 2, 3, or in Spanish we would say uno, dos, tres. They're looking for their friends. Will you help me by singing with me? It goes to the tune of Muffin Man, if you know that song. And we'll sing this verse through 3 times, so please join in as soon as you're ready, okay? Can we find an orange cat, an orange cat, an orange cat? Can we find an orange cat? We want to say hello. Join in. Can we find a blue cat, a blue cat, a blue cat? Can we find a blue cat? We want to say hello. What's that? This isn't a blue cat? Oh, it's a green cat. You're right, this is a green cat. We were looking for a blue cat. Is this a blue cat? Yes. Thank you for your help. Sometimes I get mixed up. Do you ever get mixed up? That's okay. All right, we have one more verse. Are you ready? Can we find a purple cat, a purple cat, a purple cat? Can we find a purple cat? We want to say hello. Nice job singing with me. Thank you. Give yourselves a pat on the back or a silent cheer. And now, make sure you get settled in. We're going to begin our story. And our story today is Mrs. McTats and her house full of cats. And it's written by Alyssa Satin Capucilli. It's illustrated by Joan Rankin. And it's published by Margaret K. McElderry Books. Let's get settled. In a small, cozy cottage lived Mrs. McTats. She lived all alone, except for one cat. While you're reading the story, see if you notice a pattern about how Mrs. McTats names her cats. Every morning she left as the clock struck 8 to market, I mustn't be late. She browsed through the market and chose a plump fish. For Abner and me, what a sumptuous dish. Her first cat is named Abner. When she got home, there came a scratch at the door, and in walked 2 cats. Was there room for 2 more? Come in, my sweet dears, said Mrs. McTats. I'm sure I've got room for just 2 more cats. I'll call you Basil, and Curly you'll be. I only had 1 cat. Now I have 3. The very next morning, Mrs. McTats woke early. She stopped to pet Abner and Basil and Curly. To market, I mustn't be late. This chicken, I think, will surely taste great. But when she got home, there came a scratch on the door. And in walked 3 cats. Was there room for 3 more? "Come in, my sweet dears," said Mrs. McTats. "I think I've got room for 3 more cats. Your Dolly and Ernest and Fuzzy makes 3. The very next morning, off went Mrs. McTats. "What can I buy for 6 hungry cats?" "I've got it," she said. "I'll make a nice stew." So she carried home beef and liver to brew. Back at home came a scratch on the door, and in walked 4 cats. Was there room for 4 more? "Come in, my sweet dears," said Mrs. McTats. "I know there's a place for just 4 more cats. 10's a fine number, 10 cats and me. I'll call you Goldie, and Herman you'll be." Izzy and Jezebel pranced across the floor, and then right behind them came 5 more. Coco and Linus, Millie, Noreen, and you shall be Oscar. There, that makes 15. The very next day, off went Mrs. McTats. What can I possibly feed 15 cats? She chose a fresh tuna, and she chose a fine trout. But when she got home, her cats were all out. She looks a little sad. She counted her cats from 1 to 15, but somehow 6 more cats had just joined the scene. Come in, my sweet dears," said Mrs. McTats. "I'm sure I have plenty for 21 cats. Let's see, Pip and Quip and Rosebud, Sally and Tozy, and Ursula dear, please make yourself cozy. But then came another scratch at the door. Could it be more cats? How many more? In came Violet and Winnie, and just behind a kitten she named Zinny. In came Yodel, the last of the bunch, 25 cats ready for lunch. But something was missing. What could it be? Just what it was Mrs. McTats could not see. As she stood there puzzling, there was a scratch at the door. Could there really be more? Could she squeeze in more cats? More than 25? Who was the one who was next to arrive? "Come in, my sweet dear," said Mrs. McTats. "I live in this cottage with 25 cats. But if you don't mind, then you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to eat, and you're welcome to play." Now in the small cottage lives Mrs. McTats, all happy and cozy with her 25 cats, and one little puppy who's known as Zoom, in a small cozy cottage with plenty of room. And just when the clock strikes each morning at 8, Mrs. McTats hurries off, mustn't be late. To market, what treats will there be for 26 sweet dears from A to Z? The end. How many of you were noticing when Mrs. McTats was naming her cats and then her puppy that she started with the letter A and she named each one with the next letter, B, then C, and on until Zoom, the puppy was named with a Z? That's a pretty fun way to name your animals, isn't it? Well, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Bedtime Stories. Please continue to visit the virtual Storytime page. We update with new story times each week. Until then, be well, and enjoy the rest of your day. Good night.